Come Out and Play was actually the last song we wrote for Smash. We had the whole thing pretty much written. We were just off of Ignition, which had been out for like a year, and had started off only selling a few copies. Actually, we were stoked that it sold 10,000 copies, and it had got up in about a year and a half to almost 50,000, and we thought that was pretty unbelievable. So we had all these songs ready for Smash, and we were pretty excited about getting there to do it, and felt like things were kind of rolling, like going up and stuff. And Come Out and Play was the last thing that I came up with. You know, we were also really into kind of the Middle Eastern stuff at that time.
Right.
Well, actually, I've kind of been into it on and off ever since. You know, I mean, it's been it's not so much just Middle Eastern; it's also like surf stuff. You know, Dick Dale and the Ventures, as well as like guys like Ravi Shankar and stuff like that. It's kind of a cool sound. You know, we did it even on Ignition, songs like Take It Like a Man. Kind of had that kind of vibe going on. I just kind of made up that riff one day, just kind of messing around, just doing the... And it just kind of happened to be in the same key as that other riff I was working on, and thought, well, I wonder, let's see how these two train wrecks go together, and it just kind of seemed to work. We had to mix around the chords a little bit.
So it's got the Middle Eastern thing in it. It's got kind of this Vato punk kind of groove to it as well.
And then we were still left with the problem of what to do when that thing stopped. You know, what do you do then and stuff? And this is actually the story, swear to God, true story. I was working in a lab at the time. I was a graduate student because I wanted to avoid the real world. But I swear to God, my job was to grow bacteria to infect with viruses. And so to grow bacteria, you have to make up petri dishes, and you have to grow all this broth. So I made up like a gallon of this stuff, this gunk, and I put it in these two flasks because it wouldn't fit in one, because I had to pour like 100 petri dishes. I wanted to have enough to last me all week. So you put them in there, but then you got to sterilize it. So you put it in this big pressurized oven called an autoclave. And these things are very, very hot. So you put it under this place called the hood, and it's like a hood on a stovetop or whatever, and it cools them off and stuff. And I went back like 10 minutes later, and it's still friggin' hot as hell, you know, and it's still hot later and later. I'm going back half an hour later, and I look at them, they're next to each other, and I go, these things are never gonna cool down. I gotta keep them separated. And so I pulled them apart, and then I start light bulb one off. It's like, you don't believe me, huh?
No, I totally believe you. I'm just thinking that's a long way to go to get to that part of the story. One of the memories that stands out in my mind is, you know, we had the song, you know, all the parts, pretty simple chord progression. And for the intro, you suggested that we do that, we sing it, just kind of like gang vocals, just blah, 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 blah. We all thought you were crazy. We just all thought you were nuts, but I thought it was funny. Might as well give it a try, you know, see what happens.
Well, we were going to start the song off on acoustic guitar. I was just going to do the chord progression ones through on acoustic, and we thought, let's mix it up and do something different, make it a different kind of intro. So let's just do, the Crazy Law thing. And it sounded kind of silly, but we tried it. I don't know. I remember we all kind of liked it, I think, right away.
I thought it worked as soon as we heard it. Yeah, once the guitars come in, it just sounded so powerful. At first you're going, what the hell is this crap? And then once the guitars come in, it's like, oh, what's this crap?
Well, you know, lyrically, it's not really, people ask me, who's it about? Is it about you or whatever? And I think that's a common mistake that people make, is they think that if you write a song and say I in it or make it first person, people think it's autobiographical, you know, and of course it's not like that most of the time. And this was one of those cases where it's just, I could pull that together, that character kind of together from a lot of people that we knew, just kind of friends here and there. I'd heard stories like about, you know, the guy whose girlfriend comes to visit him at 2 in the morning, that sort of thing. And so, I mean, it wasn't about one particular person.
But everybody's been through that machine, you know,
I guess. It was
in one way or another. So many people could relate to that. Guys, girls, you know, old and young, so.
By piecing it together from stories of different people, it became something that I think a lot of people could really relate to.
Well, the main riff to Gotta Get Away was part of Cogs, right?
Part of Cogs, yeah.
song that we did when we were calling ourselves Manic
When
Subsidal.
we first started our band, we called it Manic Subsidal because we thought that
That sounded punk.
punk. It was
Manic
it was pretty punk. Unfortunately, it was not very memorable, so people had a tough time remembering.
Maniac Suicidal.
Who are
What?
you guys? Yeah. So we knew we had to change it. Eventually, we changed it to the Offspring. But one of the early songs was called Cogs, and it had some kind of crazy, super fast punk riff that was like. Something like that.
Where the hell are you playing that? There we go.
All right. And then a very punk, fashionable thing to do is let that note hang and then go into a slow bridge, right? That was very cool. And that was what we made up for that. But I ended up coming back to that song years later and thinking, well, you know, maybe most of that song was kind of weird, but that middle part, the kind of stuck with me, and I thought maybe we should work on it a little bit. I don't know, I think the song's about paranoia, really, just kind of about being paranoid, which maybe how I was feeling when we were finishing up Smash. We were at the point where we were really under a deadline to go in and finish this record and stuff, and we had all the music recorded, and not many of the vocals. And I was going in every night and doing 2 vocals a night, but I wasn't just doing the vocal for the song, I was actually writing the lyrics at the same time. So that made it was pretty, you know, kind of under the gun at the time and stuff. But I do remember just going in the studio in Hollywood and just sitting there one night and just writing out those lyrics in about an hour. I wish it was more interesting than that.
He's notorious for not having lyrics until about an hour before he goes in to sing the song.
Yeah.
Some songs you just come to you.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Lyrics can be tough sometimes, I think. Because you want it to be good. Now, you know, we did Ignition and Smash on the label Epitaph. And then this was the first song from the first album that we did on Columbia. But some of this material had been written over, you know, the last couple of years. Some of it even older than that. You know, songs like Me and My Old Lady were actually going back a lot farther than that, I think. But All I Want was one that I remember. Another story I probably shouldn't tell, but what the hell, you know.
Tell it. It's a good story.
You know, when we were on Epitaph, and you know, we used to talk about songs a lot, and there was a bunch of bands at the time. It was a really cool time with bands like Rancid and NoFX and Pennywise that were all kind of coming up at the same time. Bad Religion was already a really well-known band. And I remember kind of a conversation around one time where everyone was joking around saying, we should try to write a Bad Religion song. We should have like a Bad Religion songwriting contest and see who writes the best one. And I was like, oh, that'd be easy, man, because, you know, they have kind of a distinctive sound and stuff. You know, it's like, oh, I could come up with something like that. And I actually wrote the song, and I thought it sounded like Bad Religion. I thought it was kind of cool and kind of funny and
it
stuff.
definitely has that vibe to it for sure.
So I tried to pitch Bad Religion on it. We were actually demoing songs for Smash. I go, I got this one. It's perfect for you guys, you know. And the guy, Bad Religion, well, whatever, Brett. Brett goes, no, don't worry about it. Just you know, play it for me later on acoustic or something. Don't even bother. So I felt a little bit rejected and thought, okay, whatever. And then you know, after a while, I'm sitting around thinking of songs for the new record, going, you know, we could make this a song that sounded like us, I think, too, and stuff. But
we don't need the thesaurus to write the lyrics.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about Bad Religion songs is they always had some pretty hefty vocabulary in it. So when I was joking around writing this song, I called it Protocol. I thought, wouldn't that be great? We'll talk about protocol and, you know, people walking around and they're robotic in their movements, and it was stuff like that, you know. So I think the original chorus was something like, your back's to the wall, that's protocol, it's sequestering your spirit, misleading us all.
Sequestering your spirit?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
That would have won the contest for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But had to change it and make it sound more like us. But is this really something we want to include? Gone Away was a really different song for us, and that we hadn't done a song that was a little slow before, really, and stuff. And it was just an idea that we wanted to see what we can do with it. I think a lot of what we really wanted to do at that time on Ixnay was kind of not just repeat the last album. So it was important to us to try to make a great album, and a great album that wasn't just a repeat of the album that we had before. And that was part of the attraction of doing a song like Gone Away, and that it was different. And, you know, I think it was a real different song mood-wise, too. I mean, it's a real serious song. It's probably the most serious song we do and stuff. But, you know, you can read into it how you want, but it's about loss, basically, and losing someone. We've gotten so many letters from people that were talking about how their brother died, or someone that had cancer, you know, their family members and stuff. And really heartbreaking to read some of these letters and stuff. But the really amazing thing that I pulled out of this was how much they really honestly felt that this song had helped them through a difficult time and stuff. So
it's neat to be able to have any kind of effect like that helps people just deal with a rough time in their life. I mean, when you're writing a song, you're just trying to express an emotion. You're not thinking about anything down the road. But to have people who be so affected by this song and in a positive way is a great thing.
Maybe because we're from Los Angeles and we're kind of surrounded by Hispanic culture, but you know, I love that culture, and you know, I love whatever Lowrider magazine. You know, I grew up on eating Mexican food every day, and you know, and I don't know, that's a part of who we are in Southern California, I guess, and stuff. But so like even though you know we grew up listening to punk rock, and that was kind of what started us and stuff. I think it was. Other bands from LA that I'm really super into too. I'm really into War. I think they're a great band. Santana, of course. And to me, that almost sounded a little bit like a Santana riff, an Oye Como Va kind of thing, which I thought was really cool. And as I just kind of kept on turning that riff around in my head, I was trying to think of what else you could put it on top of it. And there's like a little 60s thing on top of that. And it was kind of one of those things where I just kind of kept on thinking of ideas to go on top of it and around it and stuff. And a lot of it was real kind of Latin influence and stuff. You know, of course, with Uno, Dos, Tres. See, a lot of times songs, they'll come about kind of over, at least for me, over a period of time. I know there's, you know, the story of like, what is it, Carl Perkins writing Blue Suede Shoes in 15 minutes in his kitchen, 3 o'clock in the morning and stuff. And I know for a lot of people, on a lot of songs, that's what happens. But a lot of times for me, songs come over a period of time. And then I remember the next thing was that we were in between tours. We went on tour and went to South America, and I'm sitting in a radio station in Buenos Aires, and they're saying, you know, test, test. And they go, test, test. They go, uno, dos, tres. Uno, dos, tres. Cuatro, cinco, seis. Whatever, you know. And that just kind of started sticking with me. And then
I can do something with that.
If that stuff starts to stick, maybe it's a curse, whatever, it starts to stick in your head, and you know, I leave the radio studio and you know, I'm taking a leak in the urinal going, uno, dos, tres, you know, and if I just put an extra cinco in there, then I really got something. So it kind of really did come about like over a period of time, 6 months or 9 months or whatever, and really the last piece that started to bring it all together was me just leaving my house one morning and going to Starbucks and just noticing all the guys. I mean, people, you know, we live in a pretty middle-class neighborhood and stuff, and, you know, a lot of white kids really getting into hip-hop and dressing the part, and to me, some of it goes a little overboard.
Well, it's funny, when you know, it's like anybody who gets into a new fad and they just get so into it and they're trying on all these clothes and trying to affect the lingo, but they don't really have it yet, haven't lived it.
Yeah, right.
You know, and then next month it's something new, you know, whatever the next cool thing is.
But, you know, that song, because of the subject matter and stuff, you know, I got it, you know, we all got it, we thought it was funny. I figured LA would get it. I didn't know if it would go any farther than that and stuff. So that was the same kind of thing as on Smash, where things just kind of kept on going and going, and you know, pretty soon, you know, people on the other side of the country are hearing it and stuff. And I remember playing shows in Italy where these people would come to us. They barely spoke English and say, "I know that guy," you know, and never expected it to be so whatever identified with on a kind of a universal level. You know, and
I love the German version of the Pretty Fly Guys, though.
What did
They're
they do?
just the best. I didn't just the German guys with the German accent and dressed all in the hip hop flavor.
Oh,
you
right.
know, and bad facial hair, and it's rad. It's awesome.
That's true.
With a German accent, it just seems so, I don't know, incongruous.
Right. That's a good word.
Yeah, thanks.
But maybe
I got it from a Bad Religion song.
That was nice. Nice little acoustic intro. Probably the hardest intro ever written, right?
The hardest intro to any song I've ever had to play. But you wrote that song too in B flat, which if you'd have just wrote it in A, could it? See how much easier that would have been? And you wouldn't have to hit those high notes either. We could sing half a step down.
Yeah. That sounded really pretty.
Oh,
That's
thank
nice.
you.
I never heard you do that before.
Oh.
Do it again.
Do it again. You talk about the song. I'll just provide the background music.
All right. This is another song that I had written a long time ago, but just hadn't quite finished it. It wasn't quite working out and stuff. But really, I think what inspired me to finish the song was driving through our old neighborhood. We grew up in Garden Grove, and I hadn't been there for a while, and I drove through to see a relative and saw how there were all these houses that pretty much, hadn't changed. They just looked much older, of course, because I hadn't been there in so long. And it got me to thinking about who had grown up there and the kids we had grown up with, and hearing about what had happened to them. And they had a lot of them pretty rough lives. There was the one kid, I don't want to say names, but that ended up in a mental institution. There was a friend of yours on Manly who got hit by a car and died when he was a sophomore in high school. There was one guy that was so strung out on crack that he killed his sister. Literally, I swear to God, killed his sister.
Crystal meth, yeah.
Crystal, and set the house on fire. And just thinking about it, going, wow, this seemed like kind of a nice, regular, middle-class neighborhood, and yet there's a lot of really tough stories about what happened, and things didn't turn out as well as you would have thought.
Some people, will come up to me and talk about that song, and go, man, you grew up in a fucked up neighborhood. But more than that, we get a lot of people that just go, yeah, man, you could be talking about my neighborhood. Growing up, we just saw tons of people just fall through the cracks.
Fall through the cracks. It wasn't a bad neighborhood at all. It was a totally normal, nice neighborhood and stuff.
My parents still live there, so.
Yeah. And they're fucked up.
Yeah. My dad's on crack, and my mom's pregnant again.
But it's true, and I think that was just kind of an inspiration to finish that song, and it ended up being, again, something that somehow kind of, I don't know, I guess kind of resonated or whatever. People seem to identify with it.
See, I was always under the misconception that you just wanted this girl really badly.
Badly, right, exactly.
Right.
No, but it was want you bad. Yeah, and the song, it's not like you don't want the person bad, you want them to be bad.
Right.
You wanted them to be,
It's not like this really bad yearning that you have for somebody.
Right, because like you said, that would be want you badly.
Right.
That would be like, that'd be an adverb. But yeah, you want to be, naughty.
Yeah.
Want you, maybe I should have called it want you naughty. I don't know, but yeah, and it says, I want you all tattooed. I want you bad.
You want a little danger.
Complicated, X-rated. We made it too hard. It was too complicated.
Good thing we were clearing this up right now. So we can afford this opportunity.
One of my favorite songs, though. And
it's a fun one. And that's, again, another one that we still play live every night. It goes over great.
It does. Goes over really good, huh?
There was this girl in the front row. It was actually some festivals, a bunch of bands playing on. And this girl's like hammered in the front row singing this, looking at me. Singing the lines to me and like lifting up her top and singing, and I totally screwed up and just messed the song up. But she was bad.
As you would.
I didn't want her badly or otherwise, but
she was just bad.
She was bad, yeah.
So Hit That, song we wrote for our last record, for Splinter. Also the last song written for that record. We had a bunch of songs, and we were just kind of trying to think of a we wanted another song, something that would just kind of stand out and something that would be kind of special, and we ended up with Hit That, which was kind of different because it just had a lot of just different kinds of parts in it and stuff that we thought was cool. We never really tried a whole lot of, not really a keyboard part in a song before. And for the keyboard part, you know, we wanted to have kind of that, you know, that streetwise feel, I guess. So we hit up our friend Ronnie King, who came out and played it, laid it down, did a great job. Ronnie's done like all kinds of crazy stuff, like Tupac records, and like he's way into that scene and stuff. I don't know, I just kind of like that song because it has a real different kind of feel to it. It has, you know, kind of offbeat stuff, almost a little bit of a ska feel, a little bit of a hip-hop feel. It's almost like a song with a hip-hop verse and a punk chorus, kind of, you know. That was a fun one to play live, too.
Totally.
It goes over really well in South America, in particular.
Did it more than anywhere else?
Yeah. Well, have you ever noticed that like certain songs, I don't know, certain areas like certain songs better than other areas? Well, a lot of the non-English speaking countries, they identify with the woes because they don't need to know the language and stuff. And I don't know, we just put those parts in the songs because we thought it sounded cool, but it turns out I think it kind of really helped those songs to translate into other countries. People kind of got into it and stuff. But well, let's talk about our new song.
All right.
I kind of like it because, you know, we're putting together this record that's got, you know, our best stuff, our best known stuff. And this seemed like the kind of song that kind of fits into all that really well. Like it sounds like, you know, the kind of thing that we do, and I thought it was kind of cool, kind of just a nice little addition to the collection, you know?
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool to put together a record that not only had all the songs that people know, but offer something new on it, because, you know, we're keeping on.
Just to let them know we're not done.
We're not done. This is not, It's not a bookend.
Sure, some bands may rest on their laurels, but we're not going to do that, man.
Right.
We got more songs.
Exactly.
Here's just one to show you that we have more songs.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. And again, a song about how, you know, looking back and wow, the past may have been great or not so great or whatever, but can't hold on to that. You've got to go forward, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. Or I'm being serious now.
Oh.
Well, you ruined it now.
Sorry,
Let's just whatever. Just make a joke now. Just be silly.
Sorry, dude.